stick to my script because I am overwhelmed to be here with you today. If you could all please make sure that your cell phones or any other PDA, whatever, are on silent or vibrate. Ever since I got to the UK, Gordon Brown has been trying to interrupt me, so please just put them on silent. With all due respect to my colleague, if purely from a medical standpoint, if your friend had triplets, it was his wife who demonstrated the strength. Everyone played in almost equal part. All right, anyway. It's a tremendous honor. I only learned of my colleagues on the panel within the past year. I'm so humbled to be here. Jody, hearing him speak, made me consider every excuse I ever made for not taking action. So I continue to be tremendously inspired by him. Loki as well. I wish I'd known him as long as some of you have known him. So it's truly, I flew in from the United States to hear them speak tonight. So here's how I pay for my ticket. So thank you, De Montfort University. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for hosting this terrific event. In particular, I want to mention Faraz Ali, who had the dirty work of dealing with me for the past several months on the internet as the organizing was coming together. Big thank you to him, and absolutely the Palestine Peace Society. You know, it looks kind of easy as everything falls into place, but from the ushers to security to AV equipment to photography, this is a very, very complicated undertaking. It's the work that I choose not to do anymore because it's too difficult, but the Palestine Peace Society has undertaken this event, so very big thank you to them. And of course, my colleagues on the stage who make this so much fun today. So looking at the list of speakers, you got Jody, Loki, and Dahlia. And I didn't really like how my name fit in with that. So just for one night, I want a stage name. And I want to pay homage to my colleague on the panel, Loki. But also show respect for my abilities compared to his. So for one night only, they are sharing the stage with Off Key. I'm so glad you thought that was funny. All right. So coming from America, I'm going to talk to you about America and the Middle East with friends like us. Who needs enemies? There's my name, there's my website, liberatethis.com. The most important part of my website, well, two main important things. Number one, the section called Further Reading, because what I say is so vastly different from the mainstream media, although many people in here are probably already clued in. I have to back it up with references. So in that section, you will find many, many references. The other important part is my email site, info@liberatethis.com. I accept questions, comments, love mail, hate mail, whatever you got for me. But if you have trouble finding any information on my website, please don't hesitate to write. So, as I was making this trip and hearing from people here in the UK, people are asking me, well, what do Americans think about what's happening in the Middle East? And I'm thinking, how can I answer that? Well, there's two major points I want to make, and I grew up with this misnomer, so I want to pass this thought on to you. First of all, the term Middle East is a colonial term. This is how the colonial powers define the rest of the world according to them as the main focus. Now, I'm coming to you, of course, you have your history with the British Empire, but I am visiting you from a country that, with all due respect to the sun, now considers itself the center of the universe. But historically, the Middle East, the Far East, this is relative to the colonial powers. The more accurate term for this part of the world is Western Asia. So if you take that home with you tonight, that makes me very happy. The second thing I want to say is, how can I explain to you how Americans see this part of the world? Well, let me show you a still photo from a Fox News telecast. Now, the topic was Israel, so Israel is featured prominently, and of course Iran is featured prominently. But I just wanted to point out that when the British carved these countries out of the sand, this was actually named Iraq, and Egypt is over here. So when you ask me what Americans think of what's happening in that part of the world, let's just say, just speak slowly to us. It's not that we don't have potential, it's that we are so dumbed down. And this is the reason that 70% of people in the United States believed that Iraq was responsible for the events of 9/11/2001 at the time that we invaded Iraq. Now, this is a very popular sentiment from where I'm coming from, which is based in anti-Arab and anti-Muslim racism. What Americans tend to think is, you know, those people over there, they've been killing themselves for thousands of years, as if World War I and World War II did not happen. But this is a condescending, it's a racist attitude that somehow we are superior to those people over there. But this is a misnomer, and it's a myth really that is fed to us on purpose. Because actually, no, there has been strife in the region of Palestine since Al-Nakba, the catastrophe, in 1948. And many of you may be familiar with this image that this is the problem in that area of the world. Everywhere you see conflict today, there is a history of injustice. And until that injustice is resolved, there will be problems. So this is the stealth of land, the stealth within the Holy Land that has progressed from 1946 through today. This is the reason that there is strife there. And we hear the same thing. Oh, in Iraq, the Sunni, the Shia, they've been killing themselves for thousands of years. No, pretty much since 2003. Now, did anything happen in 2003 that might have caused conflict in the region? Of course, we showed up. Since the actual establishment of the sects of Islam 1,400 years ago, that there has not been a war fought in the sands of Iraq, Sunni versus Shia, period. Not until after US forces arrive do people start to fight each other. We have seen that history everywhere we go. In Colombia, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Bolivia, Somalia, Sudan, Congo, and Iraq. This is the age-old tactic of divide and conquer. Sunni and Shia. On my father's side, my father is from Iraq. My grandmother, whom you see here, was Sunni. My grandfather, I don't have a picture of him, was Shia. They had 10 children together, okay? Something worked out all right between them. The point is, love is blind. And the majority of Iraqis have a background like this, a mixture of Arab and Kurd, a mixture of Sunni and Shia. In fact, the term mixed did not emerge to describe Iraqis among themselves until after 2003. So it's, now you gotta keep it simple for Americans. So my government said, we will divide Iraq into 3 areas, Sunni, Shia, and Kurd. Don't make it more complicated than that. But the reality is, it is far more complicated. And you have to grow up in a particular neighborhood in Iraq to understand the tribal histories and the dynamics of what is going on there today. So my take-home messages from today, 3 major things. Number 1, the occupation of Iraq is an extension of the occupation of Palestine. Number 2, you have joint American-Israeli operations from Iraq to Palestine. So number 3, our goal is to end the single entire occupation. So let me begin with my first point. The occupation of Iraq, as you may know, was not about liberating the Iraqi people. Although it was presented to you as such in the Evening Standard when Baghdad fell on April 9th, 2003. This is the image that appeared on the cover. Jubilation on the streets of Baghdad, freedom. Now, according to my father, probably 99% of Iraqis were happy to see Saddam Hussein go because life was hell under the